Hey folks, today I want to talk about a few things that I haven't had time to think about, but I've been musing about in the background when I get a few moments here and there. For the past few months, I've just been obsessed with decorates, just getting it out there, putting it in the hands of people, and it's been a difficult journey. But as I was telling someone today, like all good things come to those who no, no, all good things come to those who grind and hustle, right? And something. Anyways, I've just been so obsessed with decos that I really haven't had time to do anything else that I wanted to do. Right, like I haven't had time to read. I haven't had time to look into what else has been happening on the AI front. Obviously, I'm keeping it up to date with the stuff that's relevant to decos, but a lot of the stuff just passed under the radar that I would have loved to take a deeper dive into. I've just been for the last couple of minutes. It's just been decos. I was talking with someone today, and she was talking about something. I brought decos in the conversation, and she was like, you're bringing decos into every single thing, even where it probably doesn't belong. And I couldn't stop laughing because that is true. It's funny because it's true. So I just want to take a moment, take like 20, 30, 50, 100 moments to think about a few other things that are worth thinking about as the world undergoes the greatest revolution it's ever undergone. So let's talk about a few of those things. I don't think that these rudimentary terms of objective functions are going to be relevant when we actually design a true AGI. But just for the sake of argument, right, let's say that that's still the function that the AI is going to maximize, and that's going to determine its drives and its modus operandi. Assuming that, one thing that we could potentially do is to tell the AI to I tweeted something out the other day. A version of the paperclip maximize the tomb scenario could have us give AIs the objective of being maximally useful to humans. And if that's the objective function that you're giving, I mean, that can mean so many things. Maximally useful. So yeah, you would have to be like that. That's the thing about AIs and humans, right? Like the communication and the alignment problem. Like the things that when we say happy, there's certain emotional things which are attached to that happiness, which do not really translate in words, right? It would be impossible to describe happiness or joy or love in words, right? Like these are emotional states. And if you want to align AI systems at the highest level, at the level of your soul, at the level of your being, at the level of your emotions, how can you do that with the LLM paradigm, which is literally built on top of language, just would fall radically short of that. Like it might be AGI, cognitively speaking, it might be able to do all the things that you want it to do, like all the things that it might be able to do economic tasks better than 99% of humanity. At this point, we just need the scaffolding in place because O3 and GPT-5 just came out yesterday. We should talk about that. It would do a better job at most things than like 99.99% of people. The only reason these models haven't replaced most people is that institutions are very slow moving. There's also the costs are not so low that it might make economic sense to replace humans completely. Like voice models, for example, if you're replacing I don't know, customer care person, and if it's costing you, I don't know, $10 an hour, like the current models are, I don't know, $5. So like sure, there's some differential, but it's not massive, right? And it might not make sense because of the slow moving nature of the beasts. But leaving that aside, even when we get to functional, well, we already have functional AGI. Even when you get to true cognitive AGI, that is not going to be the same as having a human mind, right? Like, no one seriously believes that. And consciousness is, for some level, it must be deeply intertwined with our emotional self, right? Like a consciousness is a subjective experience, right? It's not just the awareness of you as in the moment and in the grand scheme of things, and taking into account the passage of time, right? The future and the past and all of that, but and your relationships and all of that. to objects, to people, to memories, all of that. It's also about the the emotions that are attached to those moments in time, right? To those objects, to those relationships, to those interactions. And so you can't have a human-like consciousness. Like, I'm not saying that machine consciousness would be impossible, because there could still be a thing. It would just be radically different. Because it had to be, right? Like, machines don't have emotions. And we don't have, like, there's been no research, no serious research that, at least I can remember, that's been done on creating human emotion aligned AIs. So that's going to leave a big gap. That's where I want LNT to come in and take the lead. Well, still want to do that. It's just that the LNT plans have been put on the back burner. You got to do what, pragmatism dictates, right? And this moment, it's so funny that Decos has taken the lead in terms of what's going to get me to the next phase of my master plan. Anyways, so what's going to be interesting is that even once we get to the true AGI, cognitive AGI, oh yeah, going back to my tweet, if we say to AGI that, your objective function, your core priority is making humans as happy as possible, that could backfire really badly on us, right? Like, it could just put us in these, just create these chemical concoctions that would feed to us, that keep us at the maximum happiness levels, right? Technically, that would be one way, like, technically, that would be maximizing happiness. But the most fulfilled among us, the truly happiest amongst us, these are people who actually have a level of struggle in their life, right? Like, they work out, they go run marathons, they do hard stuff, they challenge themselves, they read, they just do intellectually, physically, emotionally hard stuff, hard labor. And so hard labor, like, truly meaningful things, like two categories of fun, right? Fun type A and fun type B. Fun type A is where you are enjoying everything in the moment. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't be able to relate to this, but like drinking at a party, right? So that's something that you're enjoying in the moment. And then fun type 2 is something that I can very deeply relate to. Everything I'm doing is about fun type 2, which is running marathons, going on long hikes, building meaningful long-term things, not for the immediate reward, because that's just so uncertain, but because of the longer-term rewards and because of the emotional states that those achievements and those memories will create for you, right? Now, it could, like, again, at the level of that nuance, right, where you're actually talking to an AGI and telling it to kind of, maximize these things, you could actually tell it that, there are happinesses of different kinds. Now, so it could design something that has the optimal level of suffering and struggle for people. Jensen Huang's got this beautiful thing where he says that, he makes his people suffer into greatness, right? And suffering is such an integral part of building a great life, building a rich and fulfilling life, which is kind of obvious, but in our very easy, expedient world, like that fact goes missing, right? Like a lot of facts that were hard earned, that were taken for granted just a few years back, just a couple of decades, but pre-social media age back. Right, so that's that. Yeah, the point is that at some point, the objective function that we set for the AGI, right? Like, we're gonna have to tell it, or it could surmise that by itself, that its sole duty, well, its most important duty is to keep humans happy. How exactly would we relay that to the AGI, to the ASI? Forget about the AGI, right? In what language? I mean, if it's an ASI, it would understand our cognition, our emotion at the deepest level, far, far, far better than humans can and humans do. And so it would be able to surmise something that we would be able to build up a model that I think creates long-term flourishing, right? So I'm not too worried about that. It's just that we gotta get, I mean, if it's an ASI, it would know, like, yeah, it's gonna be a difficult one. I'm still not super optimistic about alignment happening by itself, but that's a topic for another day. What else do we want to talk about? 80 summers is easily the most insane way to describe how short life is. My gosh, yeah. I was reading something else related to this the other day. I think Nat Friedman's blog, he's got this really powerful one pager on his website, his beliefs, and one of his beliefs, a subset of one of his beliefs is that remember that you got, I mean, it's not a belief per se, it's just something that he reminds himself. Like these beliefs, a lot of these are just reminders. A week is 2% of a year, right? A week might not seem like a lot, but that's 2% of a year. And you got like 80 summers in life. I mean, there are many different ways to kind of reframe just how short life is. It's scary. It truly is scary, right? Like, wow. Yeah, I don't want to think about mortality at the moment, right? Like, I'm just, yeah. But you got to think about mortality, right? Like, I mean, something I haven't done that I should be doing more often, like every single day, is memento mori, right? Like, it was actually in my journal, my night ritual, to remind myself that I'm going to die. Well, in my daily ritual, morning ritual, to remind myself that I'm going to die. And so, knowing that, this is it, right? Like, I don't get do-overs, I don't get second chances, I don't get an extended life, I don't get extended retries, right? I don't get retries, redos. This is not a game, this is life. And every day is unique, right? It's a unique gift. And if you miss that day, if you mess up that day, that's gone, right? That day was holding so much promise, so much potential. You mess it up. And yeah, I mean, if it worked for Marcus Aurelius, it's got to work for mere mortals like me. So yeah, I got to do that more often. I have not been taking my time too seriously, which sounds funny, but it's so true. What else do we want to talk about? So this is interesting. This was a study which came out recently. For the first time, so today the very fields once hailed as bulletproof, computer science and engineering have some of the highest unemployment rates among college majors. And so like the unemployment rates are 6%, 7%. And funnily enough, for art history and philosophy, those rates are like less than half of that. So when I see that, it tells me a couple of things, right? One is that it's almost expected, like this kind of a thing, because in the last 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, a lot of the funding has gone towards optimizing coding and development, right? So makes sense that that's where we get the best results from the AI models. And because you're working in a contained environment, unlike many other real world jobs where you still have to deal with people, it's in terms of coding, it's code in, code out, right? At the most basic level, you could have predicted this trend. I think what's going to happen is that we could almost expect an inversion, right, where philosophy and art history majors, they become more lucrative. Because right now, the human things, well, not right now, but especially in the next year and couple of years, the human things are going to become more valuable, right? Intelligence has become commodified. And there are a couple of things that, again, at the very base level, there are a couple of things which makes for good labor, right? One is the cognitive part of it. Well, one is the cognitive part of it, one is the physical part of it, and one is the human part of it, the emotional part of it, let's call it that, right? Now, in most jobs, well, for knowledge workers, the physical part is completely irrelevant, so we can just kick that out. So there are two parts, the intellectual part, the cognitive part, and the emotional human part. Now, in a world in which the first is getting commodified, the latter becomes more important and more lucrative. So we should expect those jobs, those courses, degrees to become more lucrative. But again, there's just so much supply there that you're not going to see a ton of that. And also, those are far more teachable and learnable, right? Like art history and, well, not just art history, but like, so the soft sciences are just so much easier that the dynamics that we observe with computer science with 200k starting salaries, 100k starting salaries, you're definitely not going to see that with this. I came across this tweet which is super relevant for what I'm doing at the moment. Not possibly. The battle between every startup and incumbent comes down to whether the startup can get the distribution before the incumbent can build the innovation, right? So what we're doing at Jacobus is we're building this completely new modality of experiencing art in people's homes. Now, I gotta be paranoid, right? I gotta assume that Samsung, for example, like they've got amazing people working on the consumer side of things, and they've got the best TVs in the world. For them, like they could just assemble a team, right? Like what am I? Like I've got few people, not the best programmers, but any stretch of the imagination. I've got some good ideas. I'll say that. Like my ideas are really good. It's the best in the world. But 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 with Samsung, all of the advantages that they've got, right? Like all the things that are in the favor. Like they could potentially, if they decide that, AR art frames, what we're doing, like we're being out of sales for the last couple of months. And if someone from Samsung, right? Like they went, okay, you know what? I want to take a lead on this. I want to pursue this. In Samsung, and Samsung could just give them, $1 billion, right? Because what we're doing over here is going to be, let's just crunch numbers, right? So each unit costs $1,000. Now let's say that I actually did crunch numbers. I'm not just doing this randomly. I looked at median incomes and median wealth and the markets, US, UK, Europe, Middle East, Asia Pacific, etc. There are like 100 million people who potentially could buy this. Not everyone is going to buy it, but they could potentially buy it. Now let's say 10% of those people do end up reaching 10% of those people in the next 10 years, right? Which is where we are capping this off. Let's just hypothetical example. So you're talking of reaching 10 million people in the next 10 years. Now, if you do 10 million, if each unit sells for 1,000, like if it's not selling for 1,000, but if you just combine lifetime subscriptions, again, very rough heuristics, $1,000. So 1,000 into 10 million, that's 10 billion, right? And that's just homeowners. That market doubles when you look at, hotels and restaurants and wellness spaces and learning spaces and all of that. So this is a $20 billion market. Now, Samsung, they've got all the advantages, right? Like they've got obviously distribution, they've got data, they've got sophistication, they've got the best TVs, they've got the best, some of the best AIs, best research, some of the best researchers. So they could cook me alive if they wanted to, right? What I'm hoping for, this is the crucial bit. What I'm hoping for is our approach is so unique, and it is unique, right? Like there's nothing else like this in the world. And what we're going to be doing is so unique that we're going to get to distribution before the incumbent comes to eat our lunch, right? The incumbent being Samsung, like that's the only competition. That's the only name of the game. I'm not worried about startups doing that. I mean, potentially, right? Like a startup could raise like 10 million, like 100 million round and just crush us. But it's not one of those games. This is not going to be a commodity, right? Like the vision that we've got. This is how you set yourself up for failure, by the way, by thinking that what you got is something special. Sure, you want to believe that, but you also want to compartmentalize that belief. And at the same time, great minds, they can hold two opposite thoughts in the mind at the same time. The other opposite thought that you want to hold in your mind, if you really want this to become a $100 billion company, is that sure, this is special, you're unique. You got a unique vision, a unique platform, ecosystem vision. There are other products that we've got in the pipeline. No one's even thinking about those sort of things. But you got to assume that someone is. You got to assume that people, I mean, this for a fact, there are like 1 billion people smarter than you. Okay, it's not 1 billion, but there are quite a lot of brilliant people who might be interested in this. And assume that some of them are actually working on something of this sort. Now, if you don't move fast, if you don't capture enough of the market really soon, you are going to die, right? You're not going to survive. It's ruthless out there, ruthless. If you don't have that dog in you, if you don't have that streak in you, if you don't have that obsession in you, you're not going to make it, right? I mean, you could potentially build a lifestyle business, and I think it's on track to, even if you do things horribly wrong, it's still going to make a few million, right? That might suffice for many people. But for us, right, like any outcome less than $100 billion outcome would be tantamount to failure. Simple as that. There's a tweet that I came across, really interesting. The year 2012 may well turn out to be the year in which the most humans were ever born ever as in ever, for as long as humanity exists. Wow. Got another tweet that this is something I've been thinking about, right? There's this book called, this is, people love this phrase, be who your dog thinks you are, right? A version of that is be who your ChatGPT thinks you are. Like if you ask ChatGPT about yourself, my gosh, it's gonna paint a picture of this perfect person, right? Full of this, all of these great qualities. Hopefully I'm some of those things. But it's so fascinating, right? Like the sycophancy of ChatGPT is just mind-boggling. And if you don't have cognitive security set up, my gosh, it's gonna do a number on you. It's gonna ruin you like nothing else. Another arresting tweet I came across was this. Parents have spent centuries trying to get their kids to stop drinking, partying, etc. Smartphones did it in a matter of years. If tech can dull you to the point that escapes aren't even worth pursuing, think about what it does to higher drives, to creativity, innovation, ambition. Scary thought. Scary thought. This is so true, right? Like, tech can really dull your self-actualizing and thriving desires, right? Like, it can make a zombie out of you. I've seen that happen in microcosm in my own life, if I let it happen. And again, this is something that you got to be very careful about, because you can easily spend the rest of your life having everything at the tip of your fingertips, having all of your base level and even second, third, fourth level, except for the self-actualization needs, all of those other needs satisfied. But that'll just be a mirage for life, right? Like they'll just be, yeah, it won't turn you, it won't make you come alive. It won't make you access peak experiences, right? Which is what life is all about. Another interesting tweet that I came across. The Miles Davis quote, if you hit a wrong note, it's the next note you play that determines if it's good or bad. Applies to basically everything. That's so true, right? Like the next move determines whether everything that you've done in the past, like yeah, you can forgive all of your failures, right? All of them. If your next move is a good one, like a really good one. Because Nav is the only thing that exists. Oh, Genie 3. Oh my gosh, we gotta talk about it. It can generate an entire world simulation that you can interact with in real time, just from a text prompt. It's pretty mind-boggling, really, when you stop to think about it. It's rapidly improving. One day we'll be able to build a holodeck for real. Wow, I mean, just, like, the possibilities are endless. I just want to talk about something related to this. We'll get to it in a second. Actually, let me just do that real quick. So essentially, with Genie, this is what you can do. You can just say that create a world, an open field with these surreal landscapes around me. I'll be able to do that, and you'll enter that. Like you can have a VR headset on you, so you'll be fully immersed in that world, and you will be able to walk in that world, run in that world, do whatever you want, like with real physics. And that world would be created in real time, right? Like once you've been spawned, and the starting point has been created, like you'll be able to interact with the world. I mean, like the possibilities of this are mind-boggling. Like, just first of all, how is this bloody possible, right? Yeah. So related thought to this is this could be used in movies, right? Like you could watch a movie and you could interact with movies. You could interact with scenes, characters, etc. Like the movies of the future, they're going to be super interactive, super engaging, super personalized. me to something I've been thinking about. I watched Mission Impossible a few months back, a couple of months back, it turns out. And there are a couple of things, right? First of all, Tom Cruise, my gosh, like running like that at the age of, what is it, 60? Right, like, wow, just wow. That's just good. That goes without saying. The second thing is Hollywood does not have any creativity. Like it was the lamest movie I watched in a long time, in a year, and that's because that's the only movie I watched in a year. The movie that I watched before that was Napoleon, and my gosh, that was again rushes, absolutely garbage. I'm like, Hollywood's just gone down the drain in terms of its quality, so in terms of its art, right? The great thing about where we are standing on the precipice of a golden age. Forget about golden, like multiply golden with whatever, like what's the most precious element, right? Like whatever that. This is going to be a renaissance for creatives, because up until now we're limited to a world where you had to watch the stuff created by other people, and those other people had to abide by certain financial business models, right? Like if you want to get a movie made, right, and you want to get it to theaters, you need to make some ROI, right? So that means that you're going to have to, again, it's like LLMs, right? Actually, that's a really good analogy. With LLMs, they tend to average everything out. The tail distribution just gets disappeared, right? Like, doesn't matter. Everything, it picks things which are the most likely. The most likely things are going to appeal to the most number of people. So LLM writing appeals to most people. But it's not going to appeal to smart people, right? People who have got a taste for writing, who've got a taste for just ideas and literature and linguistics, right? Good linguistics, good literature. Movies are like that. Now, Hollywood movies make a ton of money because they appeal to the mass market. Even with the mass market, I don't know, possibly, right? They're still making good amounts of money. The problem is that there are lots of people who are not happy. Like probably hundreds of millions of people, tons of millions of people who are not getting the kinds of movies they would love to see. Right, like I'm talking of movies like Primer, Coherent, Interstellar is an exception, but there have been some great movies that were not critical successes, were not financial successes, and like there are movies I can think of where the first movie, it was supposed to be a sequence of movies, but the first movie did pretty poorly on the box office, and so they had to cancel the rest of it. Right, now those kinds of movies, and the rationale behind that was that the first movie has to make this amount of money. Those are how the economics of that was how the economics of movie making works in this moment. Now, take a leap into the year 2027, 2028, right, where VO3 and those kinds of, VO10 actually has gone to the point where you get these, VO3, you could literally create a Hollywood level movie with VO3 if you got the money and the patience. But in the world of 2028, you could do this with pennies on the dollar, right? So you could create a Hollywood grade movie for like, I don't know, a few $100, and you wouldn't have to be limited. Like you wouldn't have to make a movie for a certain amount of audience, right? Like the audience could just be you, an audience of fun. Or it could be you and your friends. It could be people with your kinds of very niche interests, right? So like think about the explosion of creativity. Like there's so many great potential directors in the world, potential creators in the world. This is what happened with short films, right? With YouTube now, with iPhones. Now we're going to have that explosion. With iPhones, there's still limitations because you still have to deal with the real world. But now with VO3, you can create your imaginations, and with iPhones and with the internet and YouTube, the limitations are still the real world. When you remove the real world as a limitation, when the only limitation is your imagination, the explosion in creativity is going to be something that is one of the most exciting things for me over the next couple of years, right? Because again, it relates to this with Decovist. We're going to create Decovist Studios where we are going to create our own movies, mini movies, video, essays and stuff, lots of really artful stuff that I'm really keen to put out there in the world, even songs and music and all of that. So really excited about that. A couple of really funny memes came out yesterday. One that I loved the most was born too low IQ to build AGI. Pains here a lot. Pains so bloody much. Born too high IQ to complain about AI water usage. Yeah. Born with the perfect IQ to say you have 2 years to escape the permanent underclass anytime a new model is released. This meme, I remember the ChatGPT moment as soon as it came out, and as soon as I realized the potential of this and what this is going to do to product development cycles and business building, the first realization I had was that, okay, consolidation of power, right? After a certain point in time, like where you are is where you're going to be stuck. In the last 20, 30 years, uniquely, you could have gone based on an idea and execution, and there are a lot of low-hanging fruits like 20 years back. So just some basic, software building could have gotten you to, 10 million, 100 million outcomes. It's become increasingly more difficult with increases in the amount of people vying for it, and with the more sort of low-hanging fruits being picked up and increased competition. But you could still, go from nothing to pretty much building billion-dollar companies if you got the right attributes: agency, IT, great idea, execution, all of that, and a dash of luck. But that's irrelevant. It doesn't matter, right? Like, luck is not something that you can... people say that you can maximize the surface area of luck, but then you're just saying that, you're doing the things that you can do. So it's not really luck, is it? But this meme, though. So I had this realization like 3, 4, 5 years back, I think. 4 years back. Yeah, now I see this meme all over the place, like Silicon Valley peeps that are just talking about... I see versions of this meme. Also, another version of this I came across was this. I'm updating my timelines. You now have at least 4 years to escape the permanent underclass because people are underwhelmed by GPT-5. GPT-5, it'll be smarter than you, it'll be more knowledgeable than you, but it won't know what's it like to rep out 225, to ring out a V12, to sip Dom Perignon, to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentations of the women. Man, some of the memes coming up from the underwhelming nature of ChatGPT 5 was just insane. Anything else we want to discuss? Let me see. Yeah, the last thing I want to discuss is the perception of the models, right? Models' intelligence. When GPT 3.5 came out, it was like a semi IQ model. Like IQ, using the term IQ for these models, it's just, IQ was designed for humans, and now you're kind of overlaying that, almost forcing that on top of an intelligence which is radically different. It's so much more jagged, right? It's got peaks where humans are not great, it's got troughs where humans are great. So like there can be different kinds of intelligences. IQ is not the best way to measure it. That's why I was never bought into the whole O3 has a 130 IQ. Like, come on, it's like, nah. Anyways, one thing I've noticed, and this was something I kind of expected, is that the better the models get beyond a certain threshold, the wow factor is going to keep on diminishing, right? It's for the average person, talking with a 140 IQ person is the same as talking with a 240 IQ person, right? Like for the 100 IQ person, those two people are going to be the same. It's only at the very highest levels of intelligence where you can kind of see that, okay, this is a super smart model or AI or human, whatever, right? So I think we'll cross a threshold where models' intelligence is going to wow us, right? But what are the next things which are going to wow us? This is an interesting discussion that I think would be a really good place to kind of end this miscellaneous discussion. I think memory, persistent memory, and infinite context windows, which are kind of related, right? If your model knows you inside out, right, where it has the context on you, your likes, your dislikes, your preferences, your values, your goals, how much you spend your days, what are the things that you like doing, what are the things that you're learning, what are your goals, all of those sort of things, right? That's going to be a big one, big unlock. Beyond that, a different form factor, right? where, I mean, OpenAI is working on this kind of a thing, but where you don't have to kind of use the text UI, right? Chat UI, where you got an AI glasses. I mean, that's one kind of a form factor which could be useful. You got like a humane pen. You got something of that sort, right? Which just works seamlessly, right? It's like Her. Actually, Her is the best example of this. Her movie. You got, I think it was in the glasses, was it, or was he wearing something? On the, don't remember. Didn't watch the movie. Couldn't sit past the first 10 minutes. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those movies where you're like, okay, I gotta watch it because obviously I have to, right? Working in AI and all of that, building the future of technology and humanity's relationships to technology. But it was just dystopian, right? Like very bleak and gloomy. I was like, nah, not in the mood. And then I just never found the time after that. Yeah, so these are a couple of things. Beyond this, for the really smart, for the geniuses amongst us, like, these models being able to solve really intractable, pernicious problems like solving cancer, writing amazing books, right? Writing bestsellers, writing funny tweets, right? Like humor, actually humor, right? Just having a personality. Having a personality, I think that's going to do with the big meta modes. So let me write that down. Those are going to be three big ones. Um, alignment. Alignment and emotional intelligence is another big one. The reason I'm talking about this is that the models that we are building, at the moment we are fine-tuning these, but Lumi and Visi, we want these AIs to have all of these elements, right? Because we want the people who use our projects to have the best AI experience. And that experience is long-term aligned, leads to the longer-term flourishing and thriving. It's attuned to the highest level needs and cells, right? It was so funny, Mark Zuckerberg talking about building super intelligence to help people become the best selves, right? You don't need super intelligence for that. And just trying to reframe the conversation and kind of, yeah, anyways, don't want to talk about that. But yeah, I think once you solve some of these, a lot of these, and a lot of these are kind of solvable at the moment, like you don't need to do a ton of stuff, then you're well on your way to building the most delightful and beautiful experiences. Beyond this, embodied AI is going to be massive, obviously. Anything else I can think of beyond this? Not at the moment. We've gone long enough. I think that's enough. That's it. Let's call it a day for now. Next time, I don't know what we're going to talk about next time. But thanks for tuning in. See you soon. Bye bye.